Most people enter the Linux world through the same familiar doors. They hear about Ubuntu, maybe Linux Mint, sometimes Fedora, and they assume the story ends there. The internet is full of comparisons between the same handful of operating systems. And every YouTube video seems to repeat the same list of best distros for beginners. But hidden behind all that noise is a Linux distribution that quietly delivers one of the most refined, stable, and surprisingly enjoyable experiences you can have on a computer, yet hardly anyone talks about it. Not because it's bad, not because it's unfinished, but because it doesn't chase hype, doesn't rely on flashy marketing, and doesn't try to be everything for everyone. And ironically, that's exactly why it might become one of the best systems you will ever use. When people first hear about this distro, their reaction is often confusion rather than excitement. They expect complexity, maybe even difficulty, because it isn't constantly recommended to beginners. But the moment you actually install it and start exploring, something feels different. The system doesn't fight you. It doesn't feel bloated or cluttered with unnecessary tools. Instead, it feels intentional, almost minimalist, like every component has been chosen for a specific purpose. That design philosophy alone separates it from many mainstream distributions that try to satisfy every possible user and end up feeling heavy or inconsistent. One of the biggest reasons nobody talks about this distro is that it refuses to follow trends. While other systems rush to adopt new visual styles or controversial changes just to stay relevant on social media, this one focuses quietly on technical excellence. It evolves steadily, carefully balancing innovation with stability. For users who actually spend hours working on their machines, that approach matters far more than having the newest flashy interface animation. You start to notice how smooth everything feels, how updates rarely break anything, and how the overall experience becomes something you trust rather than something you constantly fix. Another surprising aspect is performance. Many Linux users assume they need to choose between speed and usability, but this distro somehow manages to deliver both. Boot times are fast, resource usage is low, and yet it still offers a polished desktop environment that feels modern. Whether you run it on older hardware or a powerful workstation, the system adapts beautifully. Instead of overwhelming your CPU with background processes you never asked for, it stays lean and responsive, making everyday tasks feel effortless. Over time, that performance advantage becomes more noticeable, especially if you're coming from heavier operating systems that slow down after months of updates. What truly makes this distribution stand out, though, is the philosophy behind its package management and system design. Instead of forcing users into a rigid structure, it offers flexibility without chaos. You can keep your system extremely stable, or you can experiment with newer software if you want. The update process feels predictable, and rollback options give you a safety net that many other distros simply don't provide. This creates a sense of confidence that encourages exploration. You're not afraid to try new tools or customize your environment because you know you can recover easily if something goes wrong. Community plays a huge role in any Linux ecosystem, and this is another area where this distro quietly excels. Unlike massive communities where questions get lost in noise, the users here tend to be passionate, thoughtful, and genuinely helpful. Forums feel less like technical battlegrounds and more like collaborative spaces where people actually want to solve problems together. Documentation is often clear and practical, written by users who understand real-world workflows rather than just theoretical setups. That kind of environment can completely change how you experience Linux, especially if you're someone who values learning and experimentation. The customization potential is another reason it becomes so addictive once you start using it. Many popular distros give you a predefined look and feel that's difficult to move beyond without major tweaking. This one, however, feels like a canvas. You can shape it into a minimal coding environment, a gaming setup, a creative workstation, or a productivity powerhouse. And the best part is that customization doesn't feel fragile. You're not constantly worried that the next update will undo your changes or break your workflow. Instead, the system respects your configuration choices and adapts around them. Security is another area where this distro quietly shines. While mainstream operating systems often advertise security features loudly, here they are built into the foundation without unnecessary noise. The architecture encourages good practices, updates arrive consistently, and the system's transparency allows you to understand exactly what's happening under the hood. For privacy-conscious users, that level of control becomes incredibly empowering. You're not just using software. You're understanding it, shaping it, and trusting it in a way that feels rare in today's technology landscape. One reason the distro stays under the radar is that it doesn't aggressively target beginners with marketing slogans. It assumes that users are curious, willing to learn, and interested in building their own experience rather than having everything pre-configured. That might sound intimidating at first, but it often leads to a deeper connection with your system. Instead of feeling like a passive consumer of technology, you become an active participant in how your computer works. Over time, that mindset transforms the way you approach not just Linux but computing as a whole. Gaming, which used to be a weakness for many niche Linux distributions, has also improved dramatically here. With modern compatibility layers, updated drivers, and access to powerful repositories, you can run many popular titles with surprisingly good performance. The lightweight nature of the system even gives it an edge in certain scenarios, allowing games to run smoother compared to heavier environments. While it may not advertise itself as a gaming-focused distro, the experience is more than capable for users who want both productivity and entertainment on the same machine. Developers, in particular, often discover this distro and never look back. The combination of stability and flexibility creates an ideal environment for coding, testing, and experimenting. Tools install cleanly, dependencies stay organized, and the overall system feels predictable. That predictability is invaluable when you're working on projects that require consistent environments. Instead of constantly troubleshooting package conflicts or unexpected changes, you can focus on building, creating, and solving real problems. Another hidden strength is how well the distro scales with your knowledge. Beginners can start with basic tasks and gradually learn more advanced features without needing to switch systems. Power users, on the other hand, can dive deep into configuration files, automation, and performance tuning. This scalability means the distro grows with you, adapting to your evolving needs rather than forcing you to migrate to something more advanced later on. It becomes less of a stepping stone and more of a long-term home. The visual experience also deserves attention. While it may not come with the most eye-catching default theme, the design feels clean and purposeful. Once you begin customizing it, you realize how much potential is hidden beneath the surface. Window managers, themes, icon packs, and layout options all integrate smoothly, allowing you to create an environment that reflects your personality. And because the system remains lightweight, even heavily customized setups maintain impressive performance. Updates are another area where users often fall in love with this distro. Instead of fearing system upgrades, you start to look forward to them. The process feels controlled, transparent, and reliable. You know what's changing, why it's changing, and how to revert if necessary. That level of clarity removes a lot of the anxiety that comes with maintaining a Linux system. It also reinforces the idea that the distro respects its users, treating them as informed participants rather than passive recipients of updates. What surprises many people is how stable the system feels even when running newer software. The balance between cutting-edge packages and reliability creates a unique experience that's hard to find elsewhere. You're not stuck with outdated tools, but you're also not dealing with constant breakage. That balance requires careful engineering and a strong community philosophy, which is probably why it hasn't gained massive mainstream popularity. It's built for users who appreciate thoughtful design rather than instant hype. Hardware compatibility is another quiet advantage. From laptops to desktops and even older machines, the distro handles a wide range of configurations with minimal hassle. Drivers are easy to manage, power consumption is efficient, and battery life on laptops often improves compared to heavier systems. For people who want to revive older hardware or maintain a smooth workflow on modest machines, this can be a game changer. As you spend more time using it, you begin to notice something subtle but powerful. The system feels calm. There's less noise, fewer distractions, and a stronger sense of control. Notifications don't overwhelm you, background services stay minimal, and the interface encourages focus. In a world where technology often feels chaotic and attention-grabbing, that calmness becomes one of the distro's most valuable qualities. It turns your computer into a tool rather than a source of stress. The lack of mainstream attention might actually be its greatest strength. Without massive corporate influence or aggressive marketing, development decisions remain driven by real user needs rather than trends. Features are added because they make sense, not because they generate headlines. This authenticity creates a sense of trust between developers and users that's difficult to replicate in more commercialized environments. For content creators, writers, and designers, the distro offers a surprisingly comfortable workspace. Creative software runs smoothly, system resources stay available for demanding tasks, and the flexibility of Linux allows you to tailor your workflow precisely. Whether you're editing videos, writing scripts, or managing large projects, the system feels responsive and reliable. Over time, it becomes less about the operating system itself, and more about how seamlessly it supports your creativity. Of course, no distro is perfect. There is a learning curve, especially if you're coming from highly automated systems. You might need to read documentation, experiment with settings, or adjust your habits slightly. But that learning process is part of what makes the experience so rewarding. Instead of feeling frustrated, many users describe it as empowering, like unlocking a deeper layer of understanding about how their computer works. One of the most interesting aspects is how the distro changes your expectations of technology. After using it for a while, you start to question why other systems feel so heavy, why updates are so unpredictable elsewhere, and why customization often feels restricted. The simplicity and transparency here set a new standard, making it difficult to go back to more rigid environments. As the Linux landscape continues to evolve, there's a growing chance that more people will eventually discover this hidden gem. The shift toward privacy, performance, and user control aligns perfectly with what this distro has been quietly offering for years. It doesn't need flashy marketing to prove its value. It simply needs curious users willing to look beyond the usual recommendations. In the end, the reason no one talks about this Linux distro isn't because it lacks quality. It's because it thrives outside the spotlight, built by a community that values substance over hype. And once you experience that philosophy firsthand, it's hard not to appreciate how different computing can feel when the operating system truly works with you rather than against you. For many users, it becomes more than just another Linux distribution. It becomes the system that finally makes their computer feel like it belongs to them. A quiet masterpiece hidden in plain sight, waiting for anyone willing to step off the beaten path and discover what they've been missing all along.